This video is going to show you how to choose an awesome color palette specifically for stationery designers, but you could use it for any design project. This is a snippet from a larger course that I have all about color theory for invitation designers. So if you are an invitation designer, I hope you'll check out that course and our monthly membership, Stationery School, in the description of this video. Choosing a color palette is a little bit of science and a little bit of art, which I really like. I'm a huge color fan, and I like to use unexpected palettes. You'll have a little direction from your clients, which can get you started, but then how do you create a beautiful palette? Well, first you have to consider existing paper colors and print colors that can work with their desired print methods. For instance, I mentioned that neon colors are really hard to print in CMYK. So if you have a client wanting those, you'll need to use envelopes or spot color printing to achieve them. If your client is set on a very specific color of raspberry, for instance, but no paper or envelopes exist, then that helps you know you'll need to print that color somewhere digitally or use a custom dyed ribbon or something to incorporate that color. Now that you have a starting point, what are some ways to expand your palettes? We'll refer to your most common understanding, like the red, blue, green color wheel for most of these. So you'll start with the color your client likes best and work out based on that as a starting point. So first there's a monochrome palette, which consists of various tints, shades, and saturations of the same color. Here's an example of a suite that was all variations of white, black, and gray. It doesn't have to be boring though. We added vellum to increase the texture without adding a different hue. Complementary palettes are based around two complementary colors from opposite sides of the wheel. Christmas cards are really nice because red and green are complementary, kind of like these colors going on in my sweater. These palettes are usually fairly bold, but you can use variations to create a more complete palette. So in wedding invitations, I often use a lot of pink and green palettes, like this Bougainvillea suite. That is kind of a variation on the red-green complementary color palette that's a little softer. Analogous palettes use colors that are near each other on the wheel. So this citrus suite has a lot of orange, yellow, yellow-orange, red-orange, and shades in that region. These will generally take on a very cool or very warm feel and are great if you need to use a lot of color, but not feel too busy. Perhaps the most bold of the color palettes is the Triadic color palette, which features colors that create a triangle on the wheel. The most common one you know of is just the primaries, red, blue, and yellow. My new branding is actually heavily triadic, using slightly muted versions of red, blue, and yellow. And it's kind of a lot. A lot of people would say that, but remember that all colors can be muted, tinted, or otherwise varied to fit a softer or less bold version than the immediate color wheel hue that comes to mind. So here's a palette that's triadic and isn't too harsh. I could see using it on a stationery design. Where else can you find palettes? I love to take photos of palettes I like and bring them into my invitation designs. I have a whole Pinterest board of palettes, and there's a video linked below that will show you how to pull palettes from photos in Illustrator. Nature is also a really wonderful place to look for harmonious palettes. Birds, plants, and ecosystems tend to develop in unique ways that still work well together color-wise. How many colors should be in a palette? For a wedding invitation, you usually need 3 to 5 main colors, but it can be as small as 2, your text color and your paper color, which both should be considered. There are numerous types of white paper, for instance, that skew cooler or warmer, and one of those directions will usually harmonize better with your suite than the other. So start with your boldest colors, usually the ones that the client has given you, and fill in a few corresponding options. I find that clients often give me a main color and a pop color that's bold or metallic. If they don't give you that, just try out a complementary color for that one and test it out and see how you like it. I try to use that color sparingly, and I'll often make a palette using shapes in Illustrator and try to change the size of the shapes to represent how much that color will be used in the design. Then you have to make sure you have a text color that can be easily printed and read. Often this is black or gray, but it doesn't have to be. It just has to contrast enough from the paper to be read legibly, and usually should not vary too much from piece to piece of the suite. I do have a few tools that you can use to help with choosing palettes that'll be linked below this course. So I hope that you enjoyed this course and learned something about color, especially regarding the palettes. I really love that I can look at something and say whether it works or not, but then diving into the science and the positioning on the color wheel and explaining why that works and why it doesn't, or how you can change something slightly to make it work instead of starting over from scratch. So I really enjoyed that part of this. I hope that you enjoyed this course, and you'll leave comments with any questions you have below. If you're not already part of Stationery School, make sure you jump in today. It's a membership where I teach stationery designers like you how to make more money and level up your goals with ease, and the link, of course, is in the description. Thanks, everyone.